What's going on, Fantasy Alarm Nation? My name is Justin Fensterman. With me is Adam Ronis, and you're watching the DFS NBA live stream. Adam, 10 games on tonight's
What's
slate.
going on, Fantasy
You wrote the playbook. You ready to dominate?
Yeah, definitely, man. Certainly an interesting slate tonight. A lot of injury news that we're still waiting for. A lot of value has opened up, so it should be an interesting slate tonight.
As we are always going to do, we always go position by position. So we'll start with the point guard spot with who we're paying up for. And Adam, right off the top, you see De'Aaron Fox going up against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jeff Teague or no Jeff Teague, this team can't play defense when it comes to any kind of perimeter defense. And De'Aaron Fox is going to run all over this team tonight, I think.
Yeah, he's definitely been heating up lately. He's got a great matchup here against Minnesota. He scored at least 22 points in 3 of the last 4 games. And at 3 of them with at least 40. And we just saw this matchup on January 27th. He had 22 points, 8 assists, 7 boards. So I think this is going to be another high-scoring game. Totals 226. Both teams have really been struggling on the defensive side over the last week or two. They're allowing a ton of points. So I think he's definitely someone you could look at tonight. There's not a lot of top point guards. Now, Trae Young, I put in the notes up top that you can play him tonight. You know, when I wrote this up, we weren't sure if he's going to play, but he is going to start. And there is a lot of value. So I think you can get Trae Young in there in tournaments because we know he's always capable of going off and he has that big upside, even in a tough matchup tonight against Boston.
Yeah, he should be. I'm wondering, Adam, you think that he'll see a lot of Jalen Brown tonight, especially with no Kemba Walker playing alongside him. Do you see that matchup being a potential problem for Trae Young, or is Trae Young just a player to you that could destroy just about any matchup?
Yeah, I really don't worry about the matchups too much because I know he's going to have such a high usage rate, and we've just seen him, even in tough matchups, go off. So in tournaments, I think you can consider him tonight because there's definitely some value there that will be opening up a way to get in a high-priced guy tonight.
Let's go over some of the mid-tier priced options for point guard. You have Ja Morant, Malcolm Brogdon, and I'm waiting to see just exactly once Victor Oladipo is more back into the rotation. They're going to watch him a little bit more, Adam, still for the time being. But with Malcolm Brogdon still in a great spot tonight against the Dallas Guards, who right now they're just trying to run for cover with no Luka Doncic. But you also have Malcolm Brogdon, you have Ja Morant against Detroit, which I think puts him in a smash spot territory. We don't even know which guards are going to be suiting up for Detroit just yet. We know Rose is out. Right now, Reggie Jackson, who I put in the starting 5 video at the time, questionable but injured back. So it could be Bruce Brown. Either way, Ja Morant, you're going to be seeing him play close to 30 in this one.
Yeah, and it's a great spot here against Detroit, which is coming off an overtime game yesterday, and they're really banged up. With Rose being out for sure. And Morant's been pretty good. He's coming off a bad game against the Pelicans. They got blown out. But the last time he faced the Pistons, he had 16 points, 12 assists. So it's definitely a good spot for Morant. Brogdon is just too cheap. You know, they're home against Dallas. They've struggled lately. They had a terrible performance against the Knicks. They struggled against the Bulls. But I think they bounced back here tonight at home against Dallas. Brogdon's played 33 and 35 minutes in the 2 games since he's been back. And, you know, I think he can get, 40 fantasy points tonight. And TJ Warren's out, too, so that should help Brogdon a little bit. So he's in a good spot.
Now, looking at Alfred Payton, now I love attacking the Cleveland guards, Adam. The problem with Payton, though, sometimes I worry about the scoring, but he's one of those guys that does enough in other categories, such as assists and steals. He'll help you there. He'll grab you a few boards. But also, here's the other thing with Alfred Payton. I don't like him in the 6K range, Adam. I never have. However, when it comes to the Knicks guards and Barrett still being out, somebody has to come through for this team that's not named Marcus Morris or Julius Randle, and that's been Alfred Payton at times.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a cash game play. I don't think you use him in tournaments because there's just not a high ceiling. And I don't even think you have to go there tonight. But if he fits your build of where you're filling at the point guard position, he's been very consistent lately, at least 32.7 FanDuel points in 7 straight games. He's been playing big minutes. We know it's a good matchup against the Cavs, although it could be a slow-paced game. That's the one thing you worry about. 2 teams playing at a slow pace. You might not see a lot of points in this game, but he's averaging 11 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds over his last 5 games. And he can get some steals. So he's a decent cash game option.
Now, the final value play you have in the playbook, the DFS NBA playbook here on fantasyalarm.com, Adam, you have Jeff Teague in there, but here's something very interesting. So I'm seeing some news that DeAndre Hunter will also be out of this game. So it's looking like Teague's going to start with Trae Young. So how do you think that's going to fare exactly? Because Teague, we know, is a shoot-first point guard, but with Trae Young, I mean, he's going to have to play off the ball a little bit more. Does that hinder Teague? Because that's really not his style as much.
Yeah, he's going to play big minutes, though. I mean, look, I don't love him. I don't think you definitely don't play him on FanDuel. I mean, he's 4,800. On DraftKings, though, he's 3,900. So there's definitely better players in that price range. But if you're looking to pivot off the chalk, you can consider him. Again, I don't love him. I don't think you need to do it tonight. But if you play in a ton of lineups, maybe you get him in one. But we've seen him really struggle this year. But 3,900 on DraftKings. Again, and I had originally put him in there thinking Trae Young could miss. Obviously, Trae Young's playing, so you don't have to go there.
Okay, then let's move on to shooting guards. Let's talk with a player which we do want to go there with, and that's Bradley Beal. The price point is very, very high. However, with Bradley Beal, the matchup is really good against the Warriors. It's interesting, Adam, because D'Angelo Russell may not play. I like when I'm about to pay $10K for a guy against the Warriors, and it's especially a guard, I'm almost begging that D'Lo plays because he's terrible defensively. Now we don't know if he's going to play, but Beal's still in the 10 points.
He has been ruled out.
Yes. Okay, so now he's going up. Would you say with Beal, Alec Burks could do anything against him defensively?
Beal's been rolling. I don't think it matters the opponent right now. So, and again, there's enough value on this slate that you can pay up for him. And the price has gone up. He's 10-5 on FanDuel, 10-1 on DK. But we have the ownership percentages for both sites in the 22-23% range, which I'm a little surprised at. I thought it would be lower, but he's got at least 34 points in 6 straight games, and he's averaging 28.8 points, 6.3 assists, 4.5 rebounds over his last 4 games. So, yeah, I mean, Beal's just in a good spot tonight at home. I see this being a high-scoring game. Both teams not playing much defense. So, yeah, I mean, we can afford to pay up for Beal tonight.
Now, I'll ask this for when it comes to injuries. Are we without Ricky Rubio tonight, Adam? Last I checked, it was still a game-time decision.
Yeah, he is being listed right now as probable. That was the latest report. He is probable. So he's very cheap tonight. There's not a lot of point guards I love tonight. You actually could play Rubio in tournaments because he's going against the Nets, and he's very cheap. So I think you can take a look at him in tournaments as a different way to go at the point guard position.
Yeah. The reason I asked is because Devin Booker's price point, 8,600 on both sites, and I would have loved it even more without Rubio there because I know he's going to be running the point more, but he's still, even with Rubio in, been helping out with assists too. He's not just the scorer, so I can rely on him for multi-category production. 8,600 against the Nets is a solid matchup. Big price point, though, Adam.
Yeah, I think you can pay it, though. I'm fine with it. He scored at least 32 points in 4 of his last 5. It's a good matchup against the Nets. He's another guy that kind of feels snubbed by not making the All-Star game. We know the Nets are a good matchup, so even with Rubio in there, I think Booker could still go off in this spot.
Looking at some of the other shooting guards down here for this 10-game DFS NBA slate, you have Andrew Wiggins and Spencer Dinwiddie. Interesting, because a $1,000 price difference for both of these guys. And I've liked both of these matchups very much, but with no Kyrie Irving, Adam, I mean, even it's 8,000 on DraftKings, I still want to hit the submit button, at least on one lineup on DraftKings with Dinwiddie. You know what this guy could do without Irving on the floor.
Yeah, he's going to be very popular tonight, and for good reason. You know, he's going to be way more popular on FanDuel. He's 7,100 there. And Wiggins is the same price on FanDuel at 7,100. I'm not a huge Wiggins fan, but it's basically the matchup here. It's going against the Kings. We talked about how they have been playing terrible defense lately, and we saw that overtime game where Minnesota blew that big lead. Wiggins had a big game, 36 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists against the Kings. So I think he's a pivot away from the chalk and Dinwiddie in tournaments. Again, I don't love it. I think there's several shooting guards on the slate, but hey, if you want to be a little bit different and hope that Wiggins can hit the center that he did last time, you could do that. But yeah, Dinwiddie is just, we've seen it before with no Kyrie Irving. You know, he has a 33% usage rate with Kyrie off the court. And he was balling before. And even the last few games with Kyrie on the court, he was actually starting to play better at 35.3 FanDuel points in the last 4 games. And we know the Suns struggle against guards. So, yeah, I mean, he's going to be very popular on FanDuel, and I think in cash games you have to get him in there.
Yeah, I saw a prop on DraftKings Sportsbook earlier, Adam. The over-under for Dinwiddie scoring, 11.5?
Well, they messed up. I mean, there's no way that is still there. I'd be stunned.
Yeah, 11.5. I'll take that all day to the bank. And somebody else I'll take to the bank too, especially if Reggie Jackson is out. Bruce Brown. I mean, that's who's going to be running the point, Adam. Rose is already out. Jackson questionable. Minimum salary. Bruce Brown a night. I mean, I don't even want to call him a punt play because even if Jackson is in, this guy's going to get minutes at multiple spots on the court.
Yeah, I think even if Jackson plays, he's in because we saw it yesterday when Derrick Rose left the game early with that groin injury. And I don't know if Jackson plays. You know, I thought he would. He played 30-plus minutes yesterday, 34 minutes. And I guess they are worried about the back-to-back since he had the back injury that kept him out for months. So I think that's what everyone's waiting on because Reggie Jackson certainly is a really good play if he's going to play 30-plus minutes, but we might not see that tonight. And Brown is just too cheap. I mean, 38 on DK, 4,000 on FanDuel. I mean, you're pretty much in cash games locking Brown and Dinwiddie on FanDuel. I know we mentioned Beal, and that's a payout, but Brown's just too much of a value for a guy that's going to play 30-plus minutes in a pace-up spot against the Grizzlies. He played 37 minutes yesterday and had 19 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists. So I think you pretty much definitely in cash games play Brown. You can play him in tournaments too, but hey, if you want to go away to a different cheap player in that price range, you can do that as well in case he flops.
Let's go from one Brown, Bruce Brown, to Jalen Brown for small forwards now as we switch positions. Adam, this is one of my favorite plays of the night. Kemba Walker could be in, and I would still love this play very much. I'm fine with the price point on both sites. I'm thinking that's because Marcus Smart is also hurt. You're going to be seeing Jalen Brown bring up the ball a little bit more. Also will help with his assists. Had a double-double last time in this matchup. And let's face it, I don't even need to throw the stats at you. It's Atlanta. How can you not like Jalen Brown at this price point?
Yeah, I think in FanDuel, you're pretty much in cash games locking Jalen Brown and Gordon Hayward. They're both way too cheap. $6,800 for Brown, $65 for Hayward. And Brown has had a really good year. And now you take away Kemba Walker and Marcus Smart, plus the matchup against Atlanta. And it's kind of a no-brainer. And if he flops, you just say, hey, you know, I didn't see that coming. We saw the other night against the Sixers, 32 points, 9 boards, 2 steals, and an assist. That was a tough matchup. And he's got at least 20 points in 5 of the last 6 games. So it's a great spot here for Jalen Brown tonight, especially on FanDuel.
Another few mid-tier options from small forward. Kelly Oubre Jr., you have to look at him against Brooklyn. Pretty much this is a team that you want to stack tonight against Brooklyn because of their lack of defensive intensity, whether it's interior or on the outside. Because I'll tell you this, I know we're getting ahead. I love DeAndre Ayton tonight. But how can you not love these other options with Kelly Oubre Jr.? I mean, he's going to be taking on Taurean Prince. That will be his matchup. Prince can still move a little bit, but Oubre is quicker. And one thing I like about Oubre, Adam, is that he's not just a bailout shooter, even though he'll take a lot of threes. When that lane is somewhat open, he'll attack and draw contact. And I think that's great that his game is multidimensional like it is.
Yeah, and he's going to play big minutes. Again, I think the small forward spot, I'm only going down to a few. So he's not as appealing as I thought before. But, I mean, you could use him certainly in tournaments. He's got a double-double in 2 straight games. And, again, it is the Nets. The Suns do have some injuries. And anytime you get a guy against the Nets who's going to play big minutes, he's played at least 36 minutes in 3 of the last 4, you know, he can produce.
Other guys that you have, Marcus Morris, who last I checked at him was questionable heading into this game. If I read it correctly, I believe he's sick. So we have to see if he ends up going. Marcus Morris versus Cleveland, good matchup. Someone that you can always rely on from the Knicks because, let's face it, can't rely on anyone else, and he'll likely draw Cedi Osman. We talked about Taurean Prince on the other side of the matchup with Oubre, but then we get to Alec Burks, some showcasing potential, Adam, because I read a report just a few hours ago that Burks could be on the trading block and dealt in the next few days. So if there's any game that the minutes floor would be safest, it would be tonight against Washington for Burks.
Well, Marcus Morris's illness is wearing a Knicks uniform. He's kind of sick of it, so that's the problem for him. But we found out Tristan Thompson has been ruled out tonight for Cleveland.
Wow, and he had 22 boards last game against the Knicks.
Yeah, so there goes that.
Oh, man. So do you, at this point, I guess Nance.
Yeah,
Nance becomes that guy.
Nance becomes a really good play. I would assume he starts, and he's been playing very well lately. So there we go. We got another value.
Wow, that's a major bummer right there.
Morris, again, he's safe cash game play. Again, I don't think you need to go there tonight. I mean, I'd rather just do Gordon Hayward and Jalen Brown on FanDuel. Burks is not starting tonight. They're starting Evans, but I don't think it matters. I'm still playing Burks. Because I think there's still a chance he gets 30 minutes, even if he comes off the bench. He should handle the ball quite a bit with D'Angelo Russell out, and it's against the Wizards. So Burks is definitely a good play. I mean, really, I'm kind of just paring down, on FanDuel. It's Brown, Hayward, and Burks for me. I mean, at the small forward spot. It's a very weak spot to begin with, and I think it's a spot there you just don't get cute. And as of now, those would be the three guys that I'd look for on FanDuel where you have to start the two.
Right, Atlanta, remember, doesn't really have a front court. It's John Collins and everybody else. At this point, Jabari Parker's hurt. Hunter is out. You could go down the line. Bruno Fernando has been in and out of the lineup. Alex Len is hurt. It's really at this point, as sad as it sounds, it's John Collins and Damian Jones. That's what you're looking at for front court. And with that, that's why you got to attack them. So I'm with you on that. The wings for the Celtics, Adam. Good matchups there. Let's move down to power forward and talk about Kawhi Leonard. Here's the thing with Kawhi Leonard, Adam. Paul George, is he still, you think, going to be on that minutes limit this week? That's going to be huge. I like him regardless, Kawhi Leonard. I don't think they impact each other totally, but I'd like him a hell of a lot more for 10K plus if I knew George was on that minutes limit.
Yeah, I think he is probably going to be again, or maybe see a few more minutes, but I don't think he's going to be back to his regular minutes. Leonard's just been producing at an elite level. I mean, at least 60.3 FanDuel points in 4 of the last 5 games. And the one game that he didn't get it, he only played 23 minutes because of the blowout and still had 43.2 FanDuel points. And he's going against the Spurs. The last time he faced them, he had 57.9 FanDuel points in only 27 minutes. And he's averaging 27.7 points against the Spurs this year. So he might go a little underlooked on this slate. Again, there's so much value, and we're going to talk about a few power forwards that are in really good spots tonight that are cheaper. So I think Leonard could be an interesting tournament play.
Other guys that you can look at, you have to look at Kristaps Porzingis at this point, no matter what price, unless he really stinks it up for you, especially when he's 7K on DraftKings. And I know that DraftKings, Adam, is going for the big ownership on him to get every one of us on him. But that's the thing. It doesn't matter when Luka Doncic is out, who takes command of that offense. The next guy up is going to be given a king's ransom, essentially, when it comes to production expectancy. And Kristaps Porzingis at 7K, even at 8K, I feel like we still have to consider him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I definitely think we've just seen it too much. The usage rate is up. It's around 30%. And just look at the 5 games without Luka this year. 25 points, 13.4 boards, 1.2 assists, a steal, and 2.4 blocks. And I know it's a tougher matchup against Indiana. Indiana tends to play at a slow pace. They've one of the best offensive teams in the NBA, but the usage rate's just too high. So, yeah, Porzingis, to me, is a really great play tonight.
Other guys that are in Adam Ronis' playbook on the DFS NBA side for FantasyAlarm.com, you have Jason Tatum. Obvious reasons, Adam, because of Kemba Walker being out. Everybody else gets a bump, and it's Atlanta. But you have Julius Randle in there as well, and you have Kevin Love. Randall, 8,500, though. I know he's been getting it done overall, but 8,500 on DraftKings just seems to be too expensive. And I'm looking at Kevin Love. I'll save the 1,400 on the matchup and just go to the other side.
Yeah, I don't think you need to pay on DraftKings. And even on FanDuel now with everything that's kind of opened up, I don't like him as much. Kevin Love, certainly. The key for him is, can the game stay competitive? And I think it will. I think the line's like 2. So I expect this to be a competitive game. And if that happens, Love gets 30 to 33 minutes. He's got at least 35 FanDuel points in 4 of the last 6. So you can definitely look at Love tonight.
Final power forward you have, and this is a guy I generally don't like going with, but it's an interesting matchup. Draymond Green against the Wizards, who have their guys back at him, but the rust may not be shaken off for guys like Rui Hachimura and even Mo Wagner, who are both expected to play in this one. Draymond Green, you can't always rely on him for scoring at him, but helps enough in other categories. Just another one of those guys that works the production in other categories to still make the overall score a good one at the end.
Yeah, and he's been playing very well lately, too. At least 11 assists in 3 of the last 4 games. I mean, you look at what he's produced. He's gotten to at least 48 FanDuel points 2 times in the last 4. So he definitely has the upside for tournaments. And this has a game total of 234. I believe that's the highest on the night. And if it plays at that pace and Green can get close to 30 minutes, he's going to be a nice play tonight.
Let's move on to center, because who are we paying up for, Adam? You've got KarlAnthony Towns in the 10K area. You've got Drummond in the 9K area. Between the two, Sacramento doesn't have a center really at this point. I hardly count Dwayne Dedmon. Even he's been banged up. So when it comes to this price point here, you can look at the Drummond matchup versus Valanciunas, which he'll be able to beat, but is Towns worth the pay up tonight?
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, I don't know if many people will go there, but the floor is really high for him. He's got at least 50.5 DK points in 5 of the last 6 games, scored at least 30 points in 4 of those games. He came out and made a statement and said the NBA doesn't have the top 22 players in the NBA playing in the All-Star game, so he's pissed that he's not made the All-Star team. I mean, he's missed a ton of games, so I don't know what he expects. But he's taken a ton of threes, and since he's returned in the 8 games, he's averaging 28.6 points, 8.1 rebounds, 3.6 assists. I expect this to be a high-scoring game tonight. There's a couple cheap percentage you can go with, but if you get Towns at a low ownership and he goes off, could help you win a tournament.
We talked about Andre Drummond, some of the other guys. You can go down to the 8K range and even the 7. For my guy, DeAndre Ayton tonight. Adam, I don't care about Jared Allen. I don't care about DeAndre Jordan. These Nets centers can't turn away points. The bleeding happens a ton on that side of the ball for them. And not only that, Adam, I love Ayton because he plays like a power forward, will operate from the elbow, and that will completely take either center for the Nets out of position. I'm thinking that Ayton is set for a huge game. Why I put him in the starting 5 video tonight.
Yeah, I love him tonight, too. I have no idea why his price dropped on DK. It went down to 7,700. It makes no sense. He's got at least 45 DraftKings points in 3 of the last 4 games, 7 double-doubles in the last 11, and the Nets ranked 26th against center. So Ayton's a really tough guy to go away from. I mean, I feel like you almost, I hate to say it, but you kind of lock him in on DraftKings at 7,700. FanDuel might be a little bit different because he's more, but I still even like him there. So he's in a really good spot tonight and good chance to really get another double-double. So I like him a lot on DraftKings.
Nikola Vukovich against Charlotte, Adam. That seems like a lock and load for that matchup as well. Charlotte's front court is terrible. Cody Zeller's not going to do much on him. But here's the thing. When you're paying what we're about to pay, 8,600, 8,800, Evan Fournier, I know, was questionable with some back pain. So I have not seen an update since we started the live stream on whether or not he's going to play, because if he doesn't play, it gives that little boost to Vukovich, who'll be taking more threes.
Yeah. I think it's just about the matchup tonight. We know how bad the Hornets are against centers, 29th in defensive efficiency against centers. So Vooch has been a little bit inconsistent lately, as has Orlando. And yeah, the price is a little bit high, but it's lower than the top price guys and a little bit above DeAndre Ayton. So, he's a guy that we got a projected about 9% ownership on both sides. So, he's a little bit of a way to go a little different at the position tonight.
Final 2 centers, if you want to go even further on the difference meter, Jonas Valanciunas. Adam, you and I talked about this on Alarm After Hours on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, which all of you can hear weekdays, midnight to 2 a.m. Eastern. We talked about Valanciunas all of a sudden being given multiple 30-minute games consecutively, Adam, which is huge because we're used to this guy getting topped off at about 25. So seeing his minutes go up a little bit more. Now, Brandon Clark is healthy again. Jaren Jackson Jr. isn't suspended. But do you still like Valanciunas to play 30-plus minutes going up against Andre Drummond tonight?
Yeah, I don't know if he will. I mean, the last game he didn't, but that's because they got blown out. But this team is pushing for a playoff spot. So maybe that's why they're starting to give him more minutes. But he's got at least 35.6 FanDuel points in 2 of the last 3 games. So, if you spend up on a Beal, if you have other positions that you want to get some higher priced guys and you don't have enough to get up to Ayton, Valanciunas definitely can fit the build at right around 7,200 on FanDuel and 71 on DK.
Final center we have to talk about, Adam, and because it is the Warriors matchup, we have to discuss Thomas Bryant. Maybe one of the best values on this slate. Adam, people are going to look at this guy and go, oh, but he's coming on off the bench. So what? At this point with the Wizards, they've got other big men who are now on the beginning of the minutes restricted process. I think naturally that will give Bryant a few more minutes. I know it's been a slow upward climb with his minutes, but still with Bryant in that price range, he could play 25 minutes, and I think he could be mega productive against this Warriors front court.
He can. They did say he's still on a minutes limit, though, so that's a little bit of a concern. You're probably looking at 25 minutes. But again, he's got 2 double-doubles in the last 3 games and has at least 33 and a half DK points in each of those games. So it's a little pricey on DK at 5,800 because if he gets you to 33, it's a little bit over 5X. So he's going to have low ownership tonight, I think. But we know how bad the Warriors have been against big men. So I think, it's a tournament play if you have a lot of lineups. If you're playing one lineup, I don't think you do it at this price. And Larry Nance is in the starting lineup. So there you go. That's another value play that we didn't think. So Larry Nance becomes someone that you can get in your lineup now as well.
Major bummer with Tristan Thompson. Like I mentioned, he had 22 boards, almost made the starting 5 video, had 22 boards last time out against the Knicks. So cheap because he hasn't been scoring points at all. This was a good bounce back matchup for him, but that's what happens sometimes, Adam. That's the NBA. We're amazing, and certainly injuries happen. At Adam Ronis, at Fensty Sports, he's Adam Ronis. I am Justin Fensterman. Again, catch both of us together on Alarm After Hours tomorrow, midnight Eastern, Wednesday, Thursdays as well. For Adam, I'm Fensty. Good luck. This has been the Fantasy Alarm DFS NBA live stream here on fantasyalarm.com. Good luck and always dominate. Why? Because there isn't any other option.